Cameroon will hold presidential elections on October 7. Head of state Paul Biya said in a decree issued on Monday. The country's president Paul Biya has confirmed that the country will hold its presidential election, removing all doubts over whether the violence-gripped oil-rich nation will make it to the polls. Mr. Biya has yet to say whether he will bid for another term, although his supporters are already urging him to put his name forward. In 10 days, however, it will be known as per the Constitution. The vote will take place in a context of mounting problems in the oil-rich state, which faces an insurgency by Anglophone separatists in the west and bloody incursions by Boko Haram jihadists in the north. The main opposition, the Social Democratic Front, SDF, has already designated its candidate Joshua Osi. Other declared candidates include Cameroun, a lawyer and former vice president of Transparency International, and Maurice Kamto, head of the Movement for the Rebirth of Cameroon, senior barrister Ashu Emmanuel of the Reformist Party as well. So we intend to get your views today on all of this. On the talking points, Cameroon electoral body convened for October 7, 2018. Hello fellow viewers, and thanks for joining us on the program today. We are really sorry for the late start. It's Views on the Continent on Afrique Media TV, and today we are going to be discussing elections in Cameroon. It has been proven already by the president of Cameroon, Paul Biya. He says that elections are to hold on October 7, 2018, and now this is a decree number 2018-391 of 09 July 2018. The president of the Republic, I'm reading what was put on the decree. He said, mindful of the Constitution, mindful of law number 2012-1 of 19 April 2012 relating to the Electoral Code as amended and supplemented by law number 2012-17 of 21 December 2012, hereby decrees as follows. Article 1. Voters are convened on Sunday, 7 October 2018 for the election of the President of the Republic. Article 2. Polling stations shall be opened at 8 a.m. and closed at 6 p.m. Article 3. This decree shall be registered, published according to the procedure of urgency and inserted in the official gazette in French and English, and that was signed in Yaoundé yesterday on the 9th of July 2018 by the President of the Republic of Cameroon. Now, there have been many reactions and people have been talking about this decree yesterday. But then I would like us, before we begin this program, to listen to this excerpt from CRTV. It's the chairperson of Lekam, Eno Abrams Egbe. Now CRTV caught up with him, and he said everything has been put in place to make sure that it's going to be elections. The elections will run without any hitch in Cameroon come 7 October 2018. Take a listen to Mr. Eno Abrams Egbe.
Meters in the Gamawa and around it precisely. It's great news for us. I want to assure the population of this country, the elections Cameroon is ready. Ready in terms of material. Material is coming in already. Ready in terms of the mobilization of population, of our personnel. You know, so this is the last region that we have just touched, and we come out with a lot of high hopes. Our people are ready to take on election. And concerns electoral material, all is set, the material is coming in. The big material in terms of papers, ballot papers are all in process. The small material, pens, pencils, and indelible ink are ready. So we think that we are ready, and we are very rejoicing in the fact that these elections are the electoral college being announced the day we are finishing our work on the field. We have been working very hard. We knew that the electoral college will be announced within this period. So we boost our collaborators to work very hard. And we think that most of the people are going to will just, the period after the election, to get the electoral college. The most important thing is that we are above 5.5 after the scanning of all the electoral of the registers. We are turning around 5.6, which is quite good for the elections. It's an acceptable figure, and we think that we would have done more if the time permits. Absolutely. We program the calendar, so we've been working towards this. So we think that we are very serene. We can be assured that there's serenity in the house. All is.
Yeah, that's Mr. Abrams, Mr. Abrams, Eno, I beg your pardon, Eno Abrams Egbe. He says that everything is going to be in place, and they've started receiving elections materials already for the elections coming up in October, on the 7th of October in Cameroun. Now, just to remind you, for the viewers, it's a very interactive program. You can join us using any of the numbers on the screen to tell us what you think about the topic of today, or anything that is making news in the African continent. You could also reach us on our Facebook page, Views on the Continent of Africa Media TV, or my Twitter handler at Gina Sondo on Twitter. You could send your reactions on Twitter. Now we have Mr. Tayo. He's joining us from Douala in Cameroon. Hello to you, sir, and thanks for joining us.
Of African media, I'm very grateful to be part of today's topic concerning the declaration of the president yesterday that the election is going to be held in October 7th, 2018. But there are some things I want to clarify in this area. If the president has said, according to the decree he made yesterday, that the election will be held, it means the president himself has a magic he wants to perform to resolve the crisis in English-speaking zone, because this crisis has to end before the election. And also the Boko Haram insecurity in the north is very important, because there is no way when there is a problem in the land and you will expect that people to go out, to go and vote for election. It will be very, very risky for people in these three regions that are insecure right now, or maybe they are not going to be part of the election that is coming up in 2018, because it is very glaring, no matter what the electoral body have just said, it's very glaring that there are insecurity in these three regions, unless they have to remove them out of the region of Cameroon, or we want to say they are not going to vote on that election.
Okay.
But if the president himself has the magic he wants to perform, let him perform the election, let him perform the magic, and let the election be held.
Okay, Mr. Tayo, before you go away, I have a quick question for you. Some people have been saying that the elections could still go on these troubled regions with the presence of the military. So are we looking at an election with the presence of the military heavily in their numbers in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon, and even the north of Cameroon, where the Boko Haram insurgency has been keeping that place unsafe? Is it going to be some area or some scenario with the military heavily present during the elections on October 7th?
One thing I want to let you know, we don't need to. In the north-south, there is in the English-speaking area where there's a lot of of villages that have been deserted, that nobody is no more living in that village. Are they not part of Cameroon? That is a question that we need to ask ourselves. We should not begin to deceive ourselves until there will be peace in this land. That is the time there can be election. Unless, as I've said, unless they want to rig the election, I don't know how it's going to be. Because the English-speaking are still part of Cameroon. When we say that Cameroon is not going to be divided, which means they are still part of Cameroon, which they had a right to vote for the next president they want to be their head. That is the issue at hand. If the problem will be solved the matter for the, I can assure you there will be election. No matter what the military wants to do, there will be still a result on the day of the election. And nobody will want to risk his life because we want to vote for somebody to rule the country. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tayo. He's joining us from Douala in Cameroon, and that is what he thinks about the upcoming elections. Let's go to some reactions on our Facebook page, views on the continent. And the first is from Prince Dennis Fonju. He says the government intends to relocate polling stations for the displaced denizens of the southwest and northwest regions. Convening election in October shows no interest in solving the Anglophone grievances, and it's a misplaced priority. I think the voters in the two regions should insist on voting at home only. Seni Ali says, I strongly believe that the elections is the government's preoccupation rather than solving the Anglophone crisis that is hitting the two English regions. And he says that Cameroon, I don't get it. He says, even if we Cameroonians fail to vote, he probably thinks that there is going to be some manipulation. That's according to Seni Ali. And I would like to remind all of our viewers that you can join us during this program using the numbers on the screen, or you leave us comments on our Facebook page, but then mind your language. Try to send across a message without necessarily insulting people. Your message is going to be passed across. We have another call on the line. Hello to you and thanks for joining us on the program. Yeah, I've been informed that Mr. Fa Elvis is joining us from Bamenda in Cameroon. Hello to you, Mr. Fa.
Fa Elvis from Bamenda, Cameroon. Well, talking about the elections, or the presidential elections that have been slated for the 7th of October, 2018, I think my views on this is quite a little bit worrisome. You know, many people are saying the Constitution states that you...
It's like we had a problem getting Mr. Faelvis. The call center should probably just check. I'll get him back when he comes. It's Views on the Continent on Afrique Media TV. If you're just joining us, and today we are talking about elections in Cameroon. Now, the President of the Republic of Cameroon, Paul Biya, yesterday passed a presidential decree convening the electoral body on the 7th of October for elections. Now, what do you think about this? You could be calling us from any part or any region of Cameroon. Tell us what your own region thinks about these elections that are coming up. And we are thinking especially about the people of the northwest and southwest regions. It's been very hot in those areas since yesterday. Why not the people of the far north of Cameroon and the northern regions who have been going through a lot now? How will you go to the polls? Just tell us. That is what we are interested in knowing today. And now President Biya has been in power since 1982, and that makes him one of Africa's longest-serving leaders. In 2008, Cameroon's parliament passed an amendment that paved the way for him to run for a third term in office in 2011. But however, this year he has still not yet declared if he's going to be the flag bearer of the ruling party, CPDM, or not. We have Mr. Eric joining us here in the studio. Hello to you, sir, and thanks for joining us on the program. Good afternoon to you, sir. Please tell us where you're joining us from.
I'm calling from People.
Please, can you avoid talking and listening to yourself? In other words, mute the volume on your TV set. Fellow viewers, please mute the volume on your TV set, or you step aside before trying to react or comment on the topic of the day. We have another caller. Hello to you, and thanks for joining us.
Oh.
Yes, sir. Please tell us who you are and where you're joining us from.
Thank you, madam. This is Ernest calling from Mutengene, madam.
Yes, Mr. Kenneth from Mutengene, thanks for joining us. Please step aside, step away from your TV set, or you mute the volume.
Yeah. Exactly. I'm away. Hello?
Yes, go ahead with your contribution.
Yeah, I was just trying to tell you that the areas that have been banned, the cartiers that have been banned all around act like polling stations, and that's where they will use to have the opportunity to do whatever games they can play. So it's quite shocking and disappointing that when one finger is not functional, somebody is always struggling to build up. So, thank you. You're only trying to mean what you cannot make. Thank you.
Thank you, Kenneth. And all of you should stay safe in the English-speaking regions of Cameroon. Its views on the continent. Join us using any of the numbers on the screen, or you could leave us a comment on our Facebook page. We have a post up there on our page, or you react to my tweet on Twitter. Gina Sondo is my address. Now, talking about Cameroon, the president eventually secured another 7-year term since 2011 in the latest presidential decree. However, Mr. Biya hasn't yet specified if he's going to run for the presidential elections this year or not. We have Mr. Jangini, who's joining us from Yaoundé in Cameroon.
Yeah, hello. I will chip in my own little contribution.
Yes, go ahead.
Because the present situation that we are going through, I expected that the head of state, who claims to be the father of the nation, would have actually called for a peace, because many people have been talking of a reconciliation commission that was supposed to be put in place to ensure that the two English-speaking regions, which is plagued with a high level of insecurity, so that those who are there could have that confidence towards the government for them to at least have an interest in taking part in the election. But it's quite unfortunate that he has just decided to go ahead, despite the insecurity within those two regions, to conduct election. So I want to also put a point here that if actually those areas were safe, you can take into account that almost all the candidates who have put in their interest to take part in this election, none of them has ever put their legs there to carry out a campaign to tell you how insecure that area is. So if the candidates who have put in their interest, put in their candidature, are unable to even go there to carry out, make campaigns there due to the insecurity, then how do you expect that the elections could even take place in those two regions? So I don't know if we are living in a different world on its own, or we are really living in Cameroon. So I don't know. I don't think with this present situation, elections will be possible in those two regions. If it goes ahead, then I'm very convinced that maybe only the 8 regions, maybe the elections will be in the 8 regions. If for what I know and what I am following in those two regions is real, and I'm very confident that as the day goes by, the issues are intensifying, and by then we don't know what might happen. Of course, we all knew what happened recently on Monday in Boya and Bamenda, with what we are all seeing with the guys already in town. And the military system are running away. Is that the same military that will guarantee security with the citizens that will go? Don't talk about the internally and the externally displaced. So I think if at all there was anything like elections, and maybe just the 8 regions, without 2 regions, I don't think Mr. Biya is really serious to contain the elections. If he's counting on those 2 regions, he should just count them out. He should keep aside elections, think about the peace of the country, think about the interests of the citizens, organize a reconciliation committee independent of that matter so that peace should retain, should come back, and then so that people can think about the future of the country than going ahead and trying to camouflage whether they don't no. Elections for now, no way. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your contribution. We have another caller. Hello to you and thanks for joining us.
Yes, good afternoon, madam. Yes, what I want to say is that there is no election going on in Cameroon. Because you see, the people who organize elections in Cameroon are people who are coming from CPDM Central Committee, appointed by Paul Biya. There is no opposition political party in Cameroon. The opposition political party that we know is Madame Edith Kabanwala from CPP and Mr. Paul Biya. Those are transparent political parties that we know who stand for Cameroon and Cameroonian people. So those people who call themselves opposition leader political parties, those are agents for CPDM. I call them ESCOM rider because those people cannot tell you how this election is transparent, how elections can be organized in this atmosphere in Cameroon. So for election in Cameroon, it's a clear indication that the country is already divided. Look at the election. This is the same government who changed the election result starting from multi-party in this country. These people are not free from misappropriation of state funds, election malpractices, changes of election results, crime against humanity. These people can, or this man cannot organize and fair election for a nation. So anyone who is going for election, maybe you are ignorant or you are agent for CPTM, because for me, there is no election in Cameroon. People who organize election in Cameroon are members of CPTM. Territorial administration is CPTM. Constitutional Council is CPTM. So they can know that these people, these agents of Obia, they can do anything transparent in Cameroon so long as election is concerned. So in the Republic of Cameroon, there will go election. But in Southern Cameroon, election will not go. Because we are waiting for them.
Thank you very much. That's Lawrence joining us from Bamenda. Thanks for your contribution. We have another reaction from Mr. Penn. He says, greetings, Africa. The question of elections in Cameroon has been the preoccupation of those who reject the dignity and the sanctity of life as the worst genocide is being committed in Southern Cameroons by the military forces. He says those who value human life can never be interested in this announcement. But as things are, we all know that the results will be as mechanisms are pointing at the President Biya being their candidate, which we know the results. He says, however, let the Southern Cameroons continue with its self-defense and pushing all those who are killing civilians daily. We have another caller. It's indeed Derek is joining us from Nairobi in Kenya. Hello to you and thanks for joining us.
Good afternoon, Gina, and good afternoon to all viewers of Afrique Media. I am Derek in Nairobi. I would like to say, Gina, that the priorities of our country are being set wrongly. Why am I saying so? This is because the idea of elections is coming at a moment when the peace of the country is at stake. And so I would like to know if our president, Paul Biya, is actually interested in this part of the country, the English Cameroon. Because if that was a priority for him, he must have set ways for peace to reign in that part of the country. I do not understand how a sitting president of a country has the powers to say when the elections are to be holding, which means that the ELECAM, the Electoral Commission, is not independent as such. So even with that, you expect the type of results that will come out from such an election. For me, I think that the priorities of the nation are not set rightly. We want peace, we want a united country, and yet we go ahead to talk about elections when we are fully aware that there is an aggrieved part of the country. So it is a very wrong step, it is unfortunate, and it is despotic. So for me personally, I do not support any elections in the country at the moment when a part of the country is at grief. Thousands are in bushes and others are internally displaced. So the president should come up with ways to solve this situation, not coming up with electoral code that people should go and vote. Who are they? Who are those going to vote, and for whom are they going to vote? Thank you very much. Good afternoon.
Derek, thanks for your contribution. Now, the decision to hold presidential elections comes a few days after lawmakers adopted a bill that postponed parliamentary polls until October 2019. The elections in Cameroon will take place in a delicate and volatile context. There are genuine fears that the nation could slide into a civil war as violence continues in the southwest and the northwest Anglophone regions. Government forces have continuously clashed with separatist forces who want the two regions to secede from the majority French-speaking nation and from the state which is called the so-called Republic of Amazonia. The government's crackdown has led to death of dozens of security officers and civilians participated or a refugee crisis and dampened economic growth. We have Alain Rush is joining us from South Africa. Hello to you and thanks for joining us, Alain Rush.
Hello, Dina, and hello to all the viewers. Thank you for your program because it's one of the few that enlightens the population in and out of the country. I congratulate you for that and I commend you. Yeah, the topic that you have today is about the presidential call for the electoral
body
for the vote on the in October. So my view on it is this: when we are living in a country that is that has a constitution that we need to respect, we need to follow the constitutional plan with regard to everything that concerns the country. I remember there have been times when people went on the street to fight because the president wanted to change the constitution, which was right. So if today the president says he wants to stick by the constitution, we need to understand that sometimes we must agree to disagree. The law is tough, but must be respected. That's one thing that I think. And the best thing that he could do at that time was to reinforce the respect of the Constitution by being the first one to respect it himself, calling the vote, calling people to the poll 30 days, 30 to 60 to 50 days before the end of his presidential mandate. and making sure that as soon as it is completed, when the voting process takes place all over the territory of the country, what will be done is that the next president will have enough power to resolve the ongoing issue, because the ongoing issue is related to the Constitution. Himself, being the sitting president, has limited power because of his term being going towards the end. When you are at the end of a presidential mandate, there are decisions that you must refrain from taking, because you cannot take a decision that will engage the next president. So the president at the last term of his mandate normally has limited power to engage, especially issues that goes to involve the Constitution. Now, another thing that I believe people should refrain from saying is this calling for saying, this approach saying that the election may not have place in, may not take place in the Northwest and Southwest. That is not acceptable. The country is still under the control of the national army. It means all the territory is open to vote. People are free to say we are not voting. If people say we are not voting, that is a way of voting. Because voting is not only going to the polling station and do that. No, you can stay at home. That's still voting. You are expressing your feeling. You say, I'm not part of it. I'm not going to contribute to this choice.
Okay, Alan Rush.
But if people believe in their, you know.
Alan Rush, I beg to come in a little bit. Now, from the reactions or from the messages and the cries of distress that we got from people yesterday in the Northwest and Southwest regions, they were like, I cannot go out. Even those who went out were probably killed by stray bullets. So tell us, what if on the day of maybe elections, the 7th of October, is the same situation where there are gunshots everywhere, and maybe you sitting back at home, you really want to vote? How then will you say it's going to be a free, they'll be safe actually to vote? Is it that these regions are going to be heavily militarized on the day of the voting? Yeah. Or
in such regard, Dina, with regard to what happened yesterday, we know very well that the people who perpetrated the act of violence yesterday are the same people who are claiming that they want peace. If you say you want peace and democracy in one area, and you say to people, this is my call for ghost country, if you are so popular, you will not be the same outsider hitting people, killing them for disobeying you. Because if you are popular, you don't need to follow people for that. So we all know it, and also at the international level, they know that. So what is to be done is that what happened yesterday is one of the facts that would justify the military action on that day. Because the military has the responsibility, a regalian responsibility to protect the people, the masses, and the state. So on that day, they will be deployed in those areas, not to fight with the people who will be thinking of electing, but they will be there to make sure that everything goes with the peace. Anyone who comes at that time and carry weapon maybe to intimidate or to kill people who are going to vote will have to face the wrath of the law. But before that, we cannot predict that that is what will happen. We know people in the two areas that are currently affected by this crisis are well-educated people, well-mannered people in their majority. I know from now to the time of the election, many of them would have made a mind as to whether to elect anyone or not. But I would have suggested, Gina, if you give me a chance before I go off, I would have suggested that the leaders who are in such area take the opportunity to do everything to be the one elected in the area. For one reason, you're talking of federalism, certainly, or maybe profound decentralization. At that time, they will be needing provincial leaders to become like maybe the governor of the province and everything. It should be the people who have already been elected in their area And they can secure that, expecting the next president to be discussing with them on the ground of they have a provincial leader who can speak for them. That's what I think should be done now. Not running away from the only opportunity that they have to voice themselves. Thank you, Gina.
Thank you so much, Alain Rush. Thanks for your contribution and have an amazing evening. Join us on the numbers, using the numbers on the screen if you want to participate today on our talking point on elections in Cameroon. The electoral body has been convened for the 7th of October 2018. Now, Rengwi Zorem has sent us a message on our Facebook page, Views on the Continent. He says, good afternoon, the elections in Cameroon cannot solve the Anglophone crisis when the government has refused to dialogue. Keep on sending your messages or your comments before the program gets to an end. And still, just to remind you that yesterday Cameroon has decided that they will hold presidential elections on the 7th of October. The head of state, President Paul Biya, said in a decree issued on Monday that there will be elections come this day, 7th October. Now it's removing all doubts over whether the violence-gripped oil-rich nation will make it to the polls. We're talking about violence in the northwest and southwest regions and violence as well in the northern regions of the country by the Boko Haram. Now, Mr. Biya has yet to say whether he will bid for another term or not, although his supporters are already urging him to put his name forward. We have Mr. Alain is joining us from Yaoundé in Cameroon, the capital, the political capital of Cameroon. Hello to you, sir, and thanks for joining us.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, I just want to say that the President of the Republic, by convening the polls for 2017, giving Cameroonians another chance to make an alternative change between the problems we are facing in the two regions and the whole country. I think by convening the elections, Cameroonians now have a choice either to vote a new president that can be a solution to the problems in the Anglophone region. That is the first analysis. Secondly, we will have the opportunity to be able to redress the issues squarely if elected. The third idea is that we may solve the problem by not giving in his candidacy within the next 9 days. And if he fails to do that, I think it is going to bring down the tension. But apparently, in my own personal opinion, what has been done for a better appeasement was been to go by the local elections, whereby the people who are seeking for local autonomy will have been able to elect people that they want to speak for them at the local level. Elect the councillors, elect the mayors, elect the MPs, and then move to the federal election. But in a very French-like manner, in which the head always like to remain at the head and then allow the bottom to tango from left to right. I think he has taken that side.
Thank you for your contribution, Mr. Alain. Let's continue with the reactions. We have Brian joining us from Douala in Cameroon. Hello to you and thanks for joining us on the program. I don't know if Mr. Funke is there.
Good afternoon, Gina. Good afternoon, lovers and viewers of African Media. This is Photo Brian calling from Douala. Yeah, Gina, The topic of today is wonderful. Following the presidential decree of yesterday announcing elections on the 7th of October 2018, as for me, it is not a good thing. That is not news. Instead of us trying to solve the present problems that are facing the economy, politics, and the life of people in Cameroon, the president is busy scheduling for elections, knowing willfully that what he's doing is not correct. I doubt if he really understands exactly what is going on in this nation. Two regions, there is total instability in two regions. And they are saying the people there, whether they like it or not, they will vote. And if they don't want to vote, they should go to elsewhere, which is not their country. I doubt what this country is going to become. I doubt what we are going to face tomorrow. Yesterday in Boya was chaos. You see what happened in Boya yesterday. And even this very today as we are talking, what is still going on in Boya. Instead of talking of how to solve the problem in the two regions that they are organizing elections. Those are elections of what? Elections for what? They know already the result of the election. Just trying to blindfold people to make them begin to fight for nothing. Junior, I stand on it that there will be no elections in this country if the Francophone problem is not resolved. Because it is not the Francophones that are going to vote for their president, but the whole nation. And if these two states belongs to Cameroon, then let them solve the matter before election. But if the two English states do not belong to Cameroon, then let them hold the elections in the French Cameroon and allow those people free. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Brian Fortor. Just before we go, we have another reaction on our Facebook page. Prince for Desmond says, greetings, Gina. The elections will not and will never change elections with a natural winner. And fellow viewers, everything we've been saying today or everything you've been getting on TV today are reactions from Cameroonians and Cameroonians in the country and out of the country, what they think about elections that are coming up on the 7th of October 2018. Now, I would like you to continue the conversation on our Facebook pages or on Twitter. Just let us or all think about what, know what you think about the elections that are coming up. On that note, we are going to end the program, and I really want to thank all of you who watched and participated. A big thanks as well to the technicians who were there with us in the studio. And it's goodbye for now from wherever you're watching us.